All right, everybody. Hope you are all doing great today. We are just about to begin here. I want to thank everybody for attending. We have an awesome event today. We have the Go Phishing, Detecting Advanced and Persisting Phishing Threats. Now, of course, as we know, we have our partner ID agent here. We have Jamie and Amelia, and I'll have them introduce themselves in just 1 second. But today what we're going to talk about is those advanced phishing attacks, and as they become more sophisticated, not only just the typical type of phishing attacks that are out there, but when you look at it, G Suite and Office 365 can't filter these out. And what we'll talk about today is these newest threats, all the way to cloud email and how we will defend against them. So with that being said, I'd like to have Jamie and Amelia do a quick introduction of themselves. Ladies first, we'll start with Amelia.
Thanks, everyone. Really glad to be here. My name is Amelia Perro, Channel Development Manager with ID Agent.
Excellent. And Jamie, you are...
Jamie's on mute.
Unmute. Oh, we got the,
I did it.
We got the good old 2020.
I'm that guy. I put myself on mute to make sure you guys weren't hearing me.
Love it.
But welcome. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Lembeck. I am product specialist for GRAPHUS, amongst other things, here at Kaseya ID Agent. And thank you for being here and being with us.
Awesome. And I'm really excited about the introduction and acquisition of GRAPHUS into ID Agent. It's just an awesome complementary add-on to the dark web monitoring, as well as the phishing simulation and the training as well. So pretty exciting. I think it's really kind of that next step when it comes to this level of security. So with that being said, now, Jamie, you are leading this up here. So I'm gonna.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna run the demo here for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to you, and you got a lot of books there. I hope you've read every single one of them.
That's just a backdrop.
Yeah, that's just a back. I remember from going from undergrad to grad school. Undergrad, I think I maybe only read one book in my life prior to.
Oh, don't let him fool you. That's what he does all the time.
Yeah, that first master's, first course, it was 17 books had to be read for that semester. I was not happy.
Wow, that's a lot of books. Yeah,
it is a lot of books. So
as long as they're small books, it's all good, right?
It's true, right? Cliff notes.
Right.
Awesome. You can share that with me, Dan, and we'll jump right on in.
Yes.
Second here.
Should be good now.
There we go. Okay. Oops. Here we go. Sorry about that, guys. So greetings once again. Can you guys see my see the slide deck here?
Perfect.
Perfect. Awesome. My friend Amelia will start us off.
Yes. Thanks for joining us today. We already did introductions, but for those of you that are just logging on right now and may have missed the chitter chatter in the beginning, my name is Amelia Perro. I'm a Channel Development Manager with ID Agent, joined by my colleague here, Jamie Lembeck, who is, amongst many things in his own words, a product specialist for GRAPHUS, as well as one of our identity and access management specialists here on the ID Agent side. And today we're going to be talking about, advanced persistent phishing threats, and really kind of the landscape of cyber threats as it relates to, the SMB space and as well as MSPs. And for those of you that aren't aware, ID Agent, we have a suite of cybersecurity tools that really give you the ability to offer your customers a robust set of tools that are designed for MSPs by MSPs, right? So you can offer your customers digital risk protection service, which includes dark web monitoring, phishing, security awareness training, two-factor authentication, password management, single sign-on, and then our newest tool, GRAPHUS, which is, that we're going to be talking about today. So with that, I will be turning it over to our GRAPHUS and persistent phishing threat expert, Jamie.
Awesome, Amelia. Appreciate it. Dan, again, thank you for having us today. We appreciate it very much. So let's kind of talk about the threat landscape. What's going on in 2020. It's been a roller coaster year to say the least, right? The phishing threats, they've only increased with COVID up 600% as BBC News has come out. I always joke on every conversation, demonstration that I have that the telemarketers have refocused what they're doing. Right, we're not getting as many calls. I think that they found how easy it is to go out there into the dark web, and purchase some of these campaigns to be able to go after and target your organizations to, in the end, make more money, right? So that's where we're seeing the uptick. With individuals in that work from home environment, they know that there's, other people are not there. So modeling and accounting does not have the opportunity to stand up in that gopher effect to say, hey, is this a phishing email or not, right? So the tools, some of the organizations lack the tools to be able to protect themselves as well. So that's where that refocus, or not the refocus, but the focus of the hackers has been, in this COVID environment with the increase in attacks. We know the 9 and 10, going to result, as far as the attacks resulting in data breach, right? So 1 out of 5 people, so it's actually 17% of people will click on a phishing email. So we have to have things in place, right? Multiple layers of security to be able to protect and detect those types of compromises that may come to fruition. The statistic that's here in the third column from the Forbes, talking about 78% of IT leaders in the C-suite most likely to be targeted. Let's take it a step further on that, right? So knowing that, right, this is a Forbes study. Here about 6 weeks ago, Forbes came out and said, same type of a study, is they surveyed the CEOs. And ask the CEOs, what are you going to do in, with security? What is security as far as, priority on your list? Is that 79%, so close to this, 79% of the CEOs said that they will take convenience over security any day. That's a problem. That's a problem, right? I mean, think about how many long hours we're working, and especially your employees. In the work from home environment, we went to, working from, 8, 9 hours a day to at home, some people are working 14, 16 hours a day. Just because the accessibility of the devices are there, they're tired, they're exhausted, they're, maybe the organization has gone lean, right? They've gone lean, so they've reduced headcount. People are increasing the number of responsibilities that they have. So they're toggling between multiple things. So, that's what leads to that, business email compromise being at $130,000. That's just an average. It's just an average, right? So, an organization that gets hit, $130,000. Who has that money? Who has that sitting there? Once you've been hit, you can't go to the bank to be able to get a line of credit. So you're looking at cash reserves, right? COVID era, accounts receivable, aging is becoming a problem, right? Went from 10 to 15 days normal, now up 30, 60, 90 days, right? So there's problems that come into play. And the hackers are well aware of what's happening to the environments that you're managing. On our third slide here, the types of phishing, the techniques that are happening today. From what we're seeing, everything from the spear phishing, they're watching the socials, right? So Fortune 500 CEOs, have been told time and time again, do not use social media. Social media creates timestamps. It creates GPS locations, right? Where people are so that you can do that spear phishing. Those company, potlucks that we used to have prior to COVID, probably don't have those anymore. But the potluck stuff, holidays, those pictures, they're analyzing the background, just like my books back here, the periodicals. What is it that I'm reading? They're looking to see so that they can target individuals within your organization so that, the likelihood in that subject line that somebody's going to click on that email, click on the link or download that attachment. The name spoofing is now a problem as well, right? So our employees taking the time to be able to hover over the links, hover over the email, who it is that's sending, to be able to, notice, is that coming from somebody that I should be receiving it from, right? So that's spoofing, the same thing that's happening, you know, to those phone numbers that are tricking you, right? The hackers have taken in numerous breaches. They've taken people's cell phone numbers, people that you're familiar with, people that are on Facebook with you and friends. They've taken their information from those darn surveys that they're doing over on Facebook. They're taking that cell phone number that's attached to the Facebook account, and they're using that to spoof you so that you click on something, you respond, right? So we're seeing all kinds of these phishing attacks. You know, two other examples that come to top of mind right away, right? So we talked about the receivables management. You know, from accounts receivable, problems is cash flows coming in, which means you're having problems. Those small, medium businesses are having problems with payables, right? Paying companies, so they're slow pay. You know, we've seen an incredible uptick on month end, end of the week, those types of things where the accounting departments are getting hammered with delinquency notices. Those delinquency notices are notifying them that, hey, termination of services, you know, if you don't pay us by the close of business, end of day, end of month, right? We're seeing that. HR departments are getting hit with malicious attachments. Those malicious attachments, think about it, right? We have 8 to 10% of the workforce out there that's on the bench, right? They've been laid off. They've been looking for jobs. The HR departments are getting hit with these, you know, the resume attachments, what looks like a resume attachment, when in fact it's not. So we're seeing an uptick, to say the least, in all of these types of phishing techniques. COVID examples, you know, COVID examples, right? I mean, everybody knows the payroll protection have come out, the CDC stuff has come out, you know, stuff over across the pond in the UK. We've seen all kinds of these things, right? The spoofing on the text messaging, all of that, you know, with this text message thing that immediately pops out to me is that this individual has their Wi-Fi on. No, you do not walk around unless you know you have a secured network to be able to connect to, right? Because those people can get their information scraped as a result, right? You can replicate that home network. I mean, you guys know this stuff. FBI, you know, talking about an increase, you know, in business email compromises. Interesting stat, talking with some FBI leaders here within the past week. They don't accept PDFs. I did not know that. That was interesting because, you know, with the amount of stuff that can come across malicious intentions within a PDF, the FBI does not allow it, which is interesting. You know, but these emails, they look real, right? People don't know any better. You know, they're trying to get the payroll protection. They're trying to save their businesses. You know, so they're clicking on these things, or they want to know the stats. They want to know what the CDC is saying about, you know, their environment, their municipality. You know, maybe they're not trusting the local government officials, you know, as far as what they're reporting, and they're trying to do some due diligence on their own. You know, can my kid go to school when I have the option for, you know, on-prem or, you know, virtual learning? So, you know, they're looking at these things and they're getting caught. They're getting caught from the perspective of this, right? You know, it could be something as simple as a phishing, you know, the Office 365, OneDrive, you know, hey, we've got an attachment I'm sending to you, right? Again, work from home, don't have the gopher effect, can't lean over to Molly and say, hey, did you get this? Did you really send this? There's communication delays as well, right? Maybe they don't have Teams. They don't have some sort of a chat feature to be able to ask other people. You know, Teams, we've seen malicious attachments, problems within Teams, problems within Zoom as well, right? So the amount of attacks is crazy. The domain name spoofing, again, just like the spoofing that's happening on our cell phones and our phones, you know, right? We think it's somebody, but it's not. We see it's a local number. We're going to answer it. We're more inclined. You know, those telemarketers end up taking that information, that timestamp, they turn around and sell it, because now they know that there's a live person. Now they know that there's Jamie or Amelia on the other end of the phone, right? They turn around and sell that information. But they're also sending you text messages. You know, it looks like it's from somebody, you know, specifically as far as those emails until you hover over it, right? And it's going to redirect you somewhere else, which becomes a problem, and so on. The phishing sites, you know, the drive-by ransomware. I mean, ransomware is a service, right? Ransomware is a service. Amelia will tell you about this. I mean, you can get an incredible dashboard for this ransomware as a service, right? So they're going to do everything for you. Cost you about $200 or $300, right? Depending upon the features that you have. With that, all you got to do is upload a list of contacts, right? My targets, targets that I'm going to go after. You know, and voila, man, it's in there. They'll end up pushing it out. They push it out, they'll monitor it. You've got the dashboard you're seeing as far as the open rates, the click-through rates, you know, what it is that people are doing, right? The time, how long they're on the site, or how many times they open up the emails, right? We're getting those timestamps, which then allows them to come back in afterwards to be able to hit you, knowing at what times you're going to be in front of your computer. right? Outside of those normal business times. You know, then with that ransomware as a service, then they collect the money, right? So if somebody pays the ransomware, they collect the money on the backside. You know, they're taking 15%, 15 points off the top. You know, you get $100,000 in Bitcoin, if you will. You know, you get 15, give them 15, you get 85,000. It's great. You know, it's great. It's tax-free income,
and it's easy,
right?
It's easy, and if that's not easy enough, then they also, the newest thing is there's a ransomware affiliate marketing program now. So I mean, it's even easier. So literally, threat actors can just make money by just pushing it off onto someone else, right? So it's incredibly easy and incredibly lucrative too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that reminds me, Amelia, of the one where it was send this to, you know, person gets hit and it says send your ex.
Yeah.
Send this
sure,
to
that
your
one
ex.
was very popular.
If you put in 3 or 5 people to hit, basically send it to your ex. You can report it to your ex, and when they get hit, it takes you off the hook, right? They'll unlock. These guys, they're entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs at the end of the day, right? You know, the attacks are just, it's crazy. It's crazy the things that we're seeing. You know, the identity impersonation, right? The executive spoofing. 2 horrible stories that I've heard here recently. We'll start local, one down the street from me. Unfortunately, I know the owners of this organization, and you know, some people, some small medium businesses, they always push back on their security spend, right? This happens to be one of them. When I was in the MSP space here in St. Louis, I went after them hard because they were a high cash business and they had a lot of security concerns and problems that I saw. Right. Unfortunately, some people just don't see it on the front side. Right. They'll spend pennies on security on the front, you know, hundreds of dollars, stacks, racks, as my son says, on the backside. Right. With this bakery got hit on Saturday. Executive, the CEO, the owner, you know, their account got taken over. They ended up sending an email to the CFO. Ended up going out and buying some malicious equipment, Alibaba stuff. Money was gone, you know, it was gone. $250,000 they got hit. So now we're doing a fundraiser to try to help them save the business, right? Cash flow's gone, all that, you know, they can't sustain. They are going to eventually, in my mind, go out of business, unfortunately, because they can't go to a bank and get another line or an extension of credit. The second story comes out of, you know, in regards to this executive spoofing, came out of Belgium yesterday. Talking to a partner, an MSP partner over there, and they had a client, actually, they turned it into a client. But it was a prospect. Prospect called and said, hey, we need your help. We've been compromised, you know, all this stuff. Come to find out that organization was compromised. Email, right? So the president, so a large airplane manufacturer, right? So defense industry stuff. The airplane, the CEO's account got taken over. They were in the middle of an acquisition. The acquisition was, you know, $15 million. So an email went from the CEO to the CFO stating, hey, acquisition's going through. And here's where we need to send the money to pay, right? So it was a link. CFO went, clicked on the link, paid $15 million. $15 million. Didn't even think about it, right? Because he was in the normal course of action doing business. Unfortunately, you know, they ended up losing that $15 million. They were able to evidently recuperate 10 million of it. But the things that they lost besides that 5 million were the CEO and CFO jobs, right? So those people ended up being displaced as a result, right? So the identity, the impersonations, we're seeing it all the time, right? Utility companies saying, hey, you're delinquent, you're past due. It looks like it's even from a friend. You know, those that use social media, right? We'll see that in LinkedIn every once in a while before somebody reports it. Facebook, same thing. It looks like it's a friend. Hey, you've been tagged in this video. Click on this to watch it. Next thing you know, malicious content has been downloaded. You've been compromised. You know, the CEO arranging payments. I mean, there's so many stories. You know, and for our partners, that's one thing with our powered services. You know, and the channel success managers and having that powered services tool on the pro side of things, you know, is that will assist you. You know, if you're looking for content to be able to go out and market, going after a specific vertical, by all means, you know, reach out to your CSM if you are a partner here with ID Agent Kaseya, and they'll help you with that. The phishing, why is it so difficult to detect, right? First of all, you know, the first thing is that people are just rushed, right? Yeah. I don't know how many emails you guys get on a daily basis. I'm sure it's more than me. I get several hundred, right? So it's difficult to detect from the perspective as far as the display, right? The hackers have the ability, the flexibility or there's flexibility within the protocols to be able to make it difficult to change, right? Or excuse me, the flexibility of email protocol makes it difficult to change, right? It's very hard. It's labor, it's time inclusive, time waste, I can speak there. So it's difficult, right? So it's difficult to do it, so people end up passing it, which is then the result on the flip side is that we can't detect it, we can't see it, right? We don't have those protocols in place to be able to protect the environments. You know, the SPIF, DKIM, DMARC, you know, all of that, it's too complex. You know, it's too complex, the involvement, but it's easy to circumvent from the hackers, from people who know what it is that they're doing, so that they can basically get that around, as I always call it, it's a pitch, right? It's a pitch for the hackers being a home run hitter. For those baseball fans out there, the Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire days, right? The steroid era, you know, these guys are getting those pitches and they're getting around, in which we don't want, right? We need to be able to have tools that are in place to make sure that those opportunities, you know, for that malicious email to make through does not make it, right? It does not even get to the plate of the end user to click on. So talking about the environment, right? So a little bit about GRAPHUS. GRAPHUS, again, as Amelia had mentioned, it's our newest acquisition here at Kaseya. Fits well within our security stack, being the dark web ID, where it has those two components, that live search, the live search where you can go out and prospect. You know, myself, I used it, came from the MSP space, calendar 18. I always tell people the stats, and I know they're probably tired of it, but I'm just trying to reinforce how effective that tool is that, that dark web live ID, I went out, I prospected, secured 368 first-time appointments with IT decision makers based off of it. It's effective, right? As far as we'll be able to get in there, displace the current MSP. As far as this tool, or excuse me, the other tools, the dark web, you have the Bullfish, Passly Identity Access Manager, as well as GRAPHUS. Where GRAPHUS fits in is it's fitting in at the API level, right? Activation is incredibly fast, right? So if you're talking about onboarding multiple clients, 15 minutes to get this up and running, right? To be able to take that, detecting and protecting from those sophisticated phishing emails. GRAPHUS, fits in the, can coexist with those secure email gateways that are upstream. Over the history of GRAPHUS being around since 2015, we've displaced better than 80% of them. The justification behind it is that, everything from the cost, right, the direct cost as far as the cost of the tool, to, those tools are, difficult to manage, right? You got MX records, clients complain about latency as far as, pushing emails through, with attachments, it takes a long time sometimes. So it's incredibly easy, right? Some of the security challenges faced by MSPs these days, we all know it, right? The missed attacks, the things that are getting through. We have to have a tool that's in place to be able to protect. With that, those missed attacks comes customer error. Customer error just due to increased workload for things, the attacks are tough, right? It's not like the old Nigerian stuff, right? We saw the broken English, the space, the gaps, the formatting was all out of whack. Today it's not like that. Not anymore. Not anymore. I mean, and they literally over in Eastern Europe have rooms full of marketing folks that are doing everything. So the Pantones, the colors, the imagery, the layout, spacing, fonts, the font families are all matching what it would look like, especially from the executive spoofing side of things, right?
Sophistication is just unbelievable,
It is. It's unbelievable. Or you can even go out to a service like a Fiverr, right, and hire somebody to do it, right? So for $5, I've got somebody that's got, have the materials. So the customer error, so the difficulty. The other part that comes into play is that cybersecurity awareness training. It's what happens with cybersecurity awareness training, like with our Bullfish product, is that these employees, right, now they're hypersensitive. They're working from home. They don't know, can't do the gopher effect. Hey, Molly, is this or isn't this? So now, they've been trained. As a result, we're seeing a direct correlation in the number of open tickets, as far as phishing mitigation to be reviewed by your desk. Because of that training, right? Because they're sending you an overload, a work of, in reviewing those, which then creates problems for your help desk, ticket overload, you've gone lean. There's other projects, again, you may be in the middle of an O365 conversion, new servers, whatever it is, right? Now, all of a sudden you have these additional tickets that are coming in. So your per head count ticket goes up. You want to put out the noise, you acquire a new tool to be able to protect, to automate those processes. And the last thing that comes into play on that bottom right-hand corner from the email security challenges that IT departments and MSPs are facing today is the visibility, right? So it's the visibility to be able to see real time what is happening. What is going on? How can I control the environments, the email environments that I'm managing? We need to be able to automate something. So an integration with your PSA. We need to be able to automate the review process to be able to, again, mitigate, right? Automate as far as if there's one phishing email that goes in to an organization, or if one person sees it, for everybody to instantaneously get that quarantine so nobody clicks on it, right? We don't play to the stats of the hackers. And being able to quickly respond, right? From the tool, from GRAPHUS side of things, on a monthly basis, which is always, whenever I tell our partners this, as far as the number of emails processed on a monthly basis, this is after spam filtering, as you see with the asterisks on below. So 495 emails is the average looking at our book of business, per customer. The 216 0 days, I think that stat, honestly, from, looking at the numbers here within the past, month or so, I think that stat's low. Same thing from the hours saved. Hours saved, it comes into play from this perspective, right? Hours saved, if you, to be able to go in there and mitigate, review, right? Because we have the automated processes that are in play with GRAPHUS, but also the hours saved as far as that labor associated with it, right? So for the labor for somebody to go in and change the MX records, you don't have to do any of that with GRAPHUS, right? So there's nothing to download, install, right? It's incredibly fast. Again, it's activating at the API level. So you don't have to manage it. Don't have to manage it also comes back to the labor. The labor that you're using to manage the tool is incredibly, I'm not going to say incredibly different, but it's different. It's different, meaning that on the GRAPHUS side of things is that you can have somebody who's just out of tech school. You can have somebody who's just graduated from college. It's the initial tech that's responsible for managing the tool. Yes, there are times that escalation and review ends up happening, but I'm telling you that soft dollar, 100 hours average a month per customer, I'm telling you it's more than that. It's more than that, just because, again, the things that you have to do on the other side versus the automated process and processes that GRAPHUS goes through. And then those.
If you don't mind me, I just want to jump in
Please.
here and throw something out. Is 2 weeks ago, my 16-year-old son, I brought him to the Secretary of State, or the DMV, as everybody knows it as, driver's license, and
Waiting for a couple hours.
Yeah, well, you have to get appointments now, but so we're in there, we're waiting, and I'm thinking, I'm just being a dad. I'm having a dad moment. Here's my baby, he's getting a license, and I thought, he's going through all this training, he's gone through all this training in order to drive this vehicle. There's this responsibility. And, I think about the computers and the email and everything we give to our end users, and the responsibility that they have to the organization, right? So my son, he's got a responsibility of driving that vehicle, and, the people that are around him and anybody that's in the vehicle and himself. And I kind of correlate this a little bit to GRAPHUS, because when you think about a lot of the technology that cars have now, like lane departure monitoring or blind spot monitoring, those are the type of things that can help protect him as he's got this responsibility, much like, he still has to pay attention to what's going on, right? You can't just ignore it. But when you have something like GRAPHUS in place to be able to, behind the scenes, do that automated process to try to weed that out, that's huge. And, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can take your eyes off the ball. You still have to be educated and aware, but it just helps. It's a way to help make that better, because when you think about it, that computer on the desk is much like a few ton vehicle that's being driven that could do tremendous damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially since we all have so much that we're trying to do, and especially now with, most of us, if not all of us, working from home. And it just seems like the work day has gotten a lot longer. It definitely has for me. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but my days have gotten a lot longer. And so trying to cram in as much as possible, and being at home and being on a mobile device and scrolling through, having the GRAPHUS tool, it just like, that's a great example, Dan, like having that little light that goes off on the side view mirrors that says, hey, you're merged, or you're getting close to another car. There's something in your blind spot, right? GRAPHUS does the same thing. Just, you know, that additional, I want to take a look at this because there's something wonky about it.
Yep.
No, that's brilliant. Love it, Dan. Thank you for sharing.
You bet.
So introducing GRAPHUS, right? So as Amelia had mentioned here on the front side, you know, GRAPHUS, you know, has been around. Its newest acquisition here at CASEA, fits well within our security stack that we have. Plays well with those other tools that we mentioned as well.
And we've actually been using it internally now for what, Jamie? Almost
12 months. 12
yeah.
months. 12 months we've been using it internally. I'm telling you, it's brilliant.
It really is.
It's nice, just kind of you coming from the ID agent side of the acquisition with CASEA. You know, initially because of what we did on dark web, ID agent was a target. We were a target. The hackers wanted our information. They wanted our database. They wanted to know what our secret sauce was, right? So we get phishing emails from the, Amelia's laughing. She knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We had an internal contest for a while where the employees that couldn't, you know, that identified the phishing emails and sent them on IT, that's, you know, those are the ones that we started using as examples and phishing kits for our own tool, right? So these are great. These are, well, we're going to repurpose them. So it was almost like the criminals were sending us content.
It was. They were helping us. They were helping us feed our presentations when we were on. It was brilliant there for a while. You know, and then we, you know, corporate rolled out. They rolled out GRAPHUS. We didn't know it initially. And all of a sudden things just stopped, and when there was chatter like, you know, what happened to all of that content that we're using for our slide deck, right? It went away. We didn't know. We didn't know until they toggled some things, and I'll kind of talk about that in a minute. But you know, with GRAPHUS, it's a phenomenal tool, right? So from the activation side, 15 minutes, an organization, 500 employees up and running, takes about an hour to train the algorithms to learn those historical communications. But with this, you know, been doing business in 21 countries. And I'm proud to say that we're in 21 now. We hit Iceland a week ago today. So it makes me happy. You know, and you know, also at the same time, diverse industries. So the diverse industries, think about the book of business and what you manage and where the value add comes in or hiring an MSP that is working across multiple industries, right? So you're not just working the legal field, medical field, right? By seeing and working in those other industries, you become, in my mind, a more competent, more you know, knowledgeable, you know, protector of those environments that you're managing, right? And as a result, what things we're seeing happening over in the healthcare environment, those 0 days going after them, it's all COVID stuff, as the slides we showed earlier. It protects the manufacturing and retail environments, right? Because it's only a matter of time before those same tools, same techniques are redirected. They just know that top of mind, people want to be able to do a COVID tracer and see what's happening. So that's why they're going after it. But the tool, you know, that trains the algorithms based upon what's happening there, so it doesn't affect anybody. You know, so it's great. It's great from that perspective. As far as GRAPHUS, right? You know, we help MSPs make a difference. You know, it's profitable, it's efficient, and secure. It's profitable, you know, to be able to help you increase revenues, right? At the end of the day, we're all about increasing that MRR, ARR. We want to see a year-over-year increase in our revenues. You know, the efficiency comes into it, which also helps you on that bottom line. It's not just top line stuff, it's bottom line, right? Is they don't have to have as expensive as a, you know, an employee, that labor expend, managing the tool on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to get in there and constantly do MX records. You know, that onboarding, that turn up process is incredibly short, right? So, you know, you get that recapture as well. And then it's secure. It's secure. It's a reputation management tool at the end of the day, right? And don't tell yourselves that it's not. Is it what this is doing, what GRAPHUS is doing, and the other tools that, you know, we have here within CASEA on the ID agent side, is that, you know, they're keeping you out of the headlines. They're keeping the organizations that you manage, but also from the MSP side of things, you know, you need to drink what it is that you're selling. You need to protect your environments. We all know that they're going after you because you hold the keys to all those other organizations. You know, the GRAPHUS, activating it, as I was mentioning before, right? So there's nothing to download or install. We activated the API level for O365 and G Suite, so no MX records, nothing to download, nothing to install, nothing to maintain, right? So again, labor, recapturing that labor. The second part that comes into play is our, you know, training the algorithms, right? TRUSTGRAPH is our patented AI technology. I'll talk about that in a second. But going through and analyzing, to create a trust relationship. So between Amelia and I, it's going to be a high trust relationship. We work together. We communicate frequently. Versus Dan and I, haven't seen Dan in person since since planes have stopped and being on the road. So it would take a little bit longer. But as I mentioned, back in the days, it was back in the days, right? It's like my son always said, all the way back in 1990s. Like, I have no idea. It seems like yesterday. Amelia still doesn't know what I'm talking about, but it was like, training those algorithms, right? 500 employee organization takes just about an hour. It's incredibly fast. And getting up and running, meaning real-time email protection. Those organizations, you immediately benefit based on the diversity of the book of business and who we're protecting. But then you also, have that real-time visibility into what it is that's happening, the ability to run reports, to be able to see trend analysis, to see anomalies that were happening within the previous 24 hours, to be able to have conversations to protect the environments that you manage, but also have conversations around other security tools that you can sell to increase your revenue, right? As far as the protection with GRAPHUS. With GRAPHUS, we have basically 3 layers of protection. Our first layer is this, it's the TRUSTGRAPH. TRUSTGRAPH is our patented AI technology. What it does is it goes through and, analyzes, over 50 different attributes, everything from communication styles, frequency, time of day, how people, interact. Do they do a bunch of exclamations, that kind of fun stuff? To the time of day, the frequency, who you're supposed to be getting this from, as well as the device, right? And the device comes into play as well, right? We're looking at those things. What that does is creates that trust relationship, just as I was mentioning about Amelia and Dan. Then ends up, protecting the tool, right? So it's trained the algorithm to detect and protect those sophisticated spear phishing emails, those phishing emails, right? At this layer, the first layer, over 95% of phishing emails have already been detected and prevented. They don't even make it to Molly's inbox, right? So there's no opportunity for her to accidentally click on something. If there is something that is needed, we have this. This is our second layer. Our second layer is Employee Shield. Employee Shield is an interactive banner that's inserted into the emails, right? This shows up on any device, Apple, Android, any client, web client, either too, right? This shows up. What it's doing is it's engaging and empowering the employee. What it's specifically doing with this, as you can see on the right-hand side, is that it allows, it's interacting with Molly saying, hey, are you sure you're supposed to be receiving this? This looks like an executive's name. Are you supposed to be receiving this? It's a wire transfer, it's ACH, right? It's asking her to do something. So Molly, we're empowering her now, is that she can say, oh yeah, I was supposed to receive that. That was, Dan's email. He sent it from his Gmail account instead of the corporate. He's traveling, something of that nature, right? So Molly can report it false positive, continue business as usual. Molly also could say, whoa, wait a second. I wasn't supposed to receive that. So she's going to report it. When she reports it, here's the beauty, right? She reports it as it will instantaneously quarantine that email as well as anybody else's. Yep. So again, going back to the statistics, accounts payable getting hit, 5 people in AP, and then first person that reports it, it'll instantaneously quarantine it, right? Goes through a review process. But it's that stat. Go ahead.
That is huge. I mean,
isn't it? It's amazing, right?
It is humongous, because when you think about, without that, you need to either run around the office if the office is small enough, or get an email out, a Teams message, whatever. Well, someone might miss that. They might not get to that. And then all of a sudden you get hit again. And obviously the ramifications are just tremendous, because, if those messages then, send out other messages to their contact list, the credibility lost is just huge.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I mean, and that's the beauty, right? The stats, 1 in 5 people basically click on a phishing email. We don't want that opportunity. We want, again, if it was the 5 people in that accounting department, we don't want somebody to click on it. That's the beauty, right? Is that you can help protect your job and everybody else's jobs, right? Keep that company around so that you have that paycheck. And it sends it through an automated workflow, right? Feedback loop, communication, 360 feedback, all of that. The third layer that comes into play is the Phish 911. This is basically empowering employees, right? So, think about it, right? So again, Molly's sitting at home, she's working, at the kitchen table. She receives an email. She can't knock on somebody, can't ask somebody. Teams, there's delays. She's unsure, right? She's like Humpty Dumpty on the fence. Is it a phishing email? Is it not? No one to ask. What we have here is Fish 911. What we've done is that Molly has the ability to, simply forward that email, to a designated inbox. It goes through an automation process wizard for you guys to, IT to go through and review and close the ticket. But it allows, those people that have had that cybersecurity awareness training to report things that they see and are deemed as malicious or suspicious, right? Something that may not have that banner on it. So it's great, it's great from that perspective. The last thing here that we have is that our multi-tenant environment, right? This portal is incredibly intuitive. It is simple, it is easy to use. Those of you that have sat through and looked at this before, you know how easy this is. When I say that it's 15 minutes to activate a new partner, it is that fast. It's incredibly informative. The stuff that's there, you can customize things. That Employee Shield banner, you have the ability to customize the logo on it, right? That's on there.
Change the colors.
Custom
Yeah.
the colors, right? End user organization. Executive spoofing is unlimited numbers of executive names, right? So that you're not that company that ends up getting hit and going out of business or paying that $130,000 average for a BEC, right? So you have all of that stuff there. We have SIM ticketing integration if need be, right? If you have that additional layer of security that you're going after. And then lastly, that yellow, right? That yellow talks about my friend Bullfish, that cybersecurity awareness training. Talking about recouping those labor dollars. Here's another one, is that we have already, with Bullfish, we've already done an integration with it, where if you have Bullfish, you can push your customers out. That data is pushed out, so you don't have to go through that sync agent or syncing again. But even better is those phishing emails, right? Whitelisting those phishing emails. You don't have to do it. It's already done. You've just recouped for every partner that you have or every client that you have. You've recouped all of that labor. Think about it. I've done it. It's a nightmare sometimes. A nightmare. It's not
that alone, is just fantastic. It's unbelievable. Really fantastic. And that, it just kind of segues into, as wrapping up in the last few, things that we want to talk about here in this presentation at this webinar, is just kind of how it all plays into the other cybersecurity tools that ID Agent has, right? It's all part of that comprehensive digital risk management, the identity access management, platform and services that you can provide your customers. And in thinking back about how we've all had to pivot and adjust and respond and react and try and, be proactive and preventative with the proliferation of cyber threats and cyber crimes, and how threat actors are taking advantage of what's going on out there. They're playing on our vulnerabilities and our desire and want to know what's going on out in the world, right? And then part of that is with the Bullfish, and then also with the dark web ID, right? So making sure, it's all right, making sure that, in addition to helping your employees be that frontline defense, right? Fortifying the human firewall, and then also knowing what compromises are out there. And then, the dark web ID tool also becomes part of that checks and balances, right? Knowing once, training has been provided and you've got the GRAPHUS, you can identify if you're still seeing what we call repeat offenders popping up, right? Then that's a bigger issue. It's an HR issue, right? And then it becomes a conversation about, look, this employee, they've been through the training and we've got the ability to detect, but it's a flagrant disregard for company security policies. So again, being that you as the MSP, you really become a steward for promoting the narrative and the message and the culture of cybersecurity within your customer's organization. And all of these pieces are really part of what, we've kind of coined what we call the customer protect, right? So that and Passly plays into it very well, right? So again, it's these pieces and these components that make up this customer protect, and this plays into the zero trust security framework, right? So making sure that you have the right people that have the right secure access, being tested and trained, and with the right privileges, constantly monitoring for compromises and detecting those phishing threats. Again, a full and comprehensive digital risk protection platform that you as the MSP are able to offer your customers. And that's huge, huge.
It is. And think about this too, right? So when you look at your book of business and the security stack that you're offering, there's several ways to go to market, right? Skin it. If we just use these tools alone, think about dark web ID. That data tells a story. It tells a story as far as what it is that's going on within the environments that you're managing, or even that prospects, right? That allows you to sell when you run that, allows you to create that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that you learned back in grade school marketing classes. Allows you to be able to sell to something else. Maybe it's selling to, running some sort of like a rapid fire tools, network detective, which is what I did. To run to that scan. That scan creates opportunities. The opportunities that come from it are projects. Projects allow you to land and expand, right? Showing them that you actually have that customer service, showing them those SLAs, that response time, right? That you are, in fact, who you say and promote yourself as being, right? So then that allows you to then get to that next step, which is 100% of the pocketbook spend, right? But these tools, so you can peel them out, skin them out, right? So that it could be one of these things that you're getting into land and expand, or as far as your book of business, right? Your book of business, maybe you're in a tiered approach, silver, gold, platinum plans. With that, it can titrate up as far as the amount of services that you offer. But if you are one of those MSPs, you're one of those MSPs that is all-inclusive. All-inclusive meaning it's everything in for set price, right? $150 per user per month. If you incorporate these tools, right, they're proactive. Dark web ID, like Dan was giving the car example, I give the Ring doorbell camera example. Dark web ID is a Ring doorbell camera. It's telling you what's happening outside of the front of the house. Fish, that's cybersecurity awareness training. It's telling you how to react to what's coming to the door. Passly, the identity and access management tool, is the locks on the door. GRAPHUS happens to be the gate out front, not allowing things and people to come in, that non-solicitation, right? So think about it, right? Somebody comes up to my door, they got a brown package, it's Amazon, I'm gonna receive it, right? I'm gonna, I know who that is and I'm gonna accept it. If somebody comes up with a clipboard, suit and tie, clipboard, that kind of fun stuff, I'm not going to receive it because I know they're here to sell me. I'm gonna block it. If it ends up being my son getting off the bus at 3 o'clock, he's got full admin privileges. He comes in, house, he raids the refrigerator, right?
Great analogy.
He does
love
anything.
it.
He's unplugging my router, to play football. That kind of stuff. Wrong cord, buddy. And then, and then let's just say it's crazy ex-girlfriend, right? She shows up. Everybody has one of those, right? She's nuts. I don't want her in this house anymore, right? We got a restraining order. She comes up, she's got a
Not even
key.
supposed to be on the property.
She's not. She's 150 feet, dang it.
Where's that order?
Where's that order? Where are those papers? So she comes up to the front door, she's got a key, right? She's got a key to get in the house, so she thinks. But with my identity and access management, I've removed her privileges. She can't get in anymore, right? Matter of fact, if I live in a gated community, that guard out front in that little shack, right? We play cards every night. He's blocking her from getting in. That's GRAPHUS. Talking about getting in the house, I keep going. Cyberhawk, which is detecting anomalies.
You put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah.
But
now, these are all real stories, right? I mean, these are all real
stories. Exactly. Yeah, we got pictures of that girl posted around, so neighbors know. But think about this, right? So all-inclusive, MSP, man, you worked for it. You worked your butt off to be able to put this package together, go to market. You're now charging, again, $150, $160 per endpoint, just depending upon how it is that you do, or person, right? With these tools are protecting you from future labor, right? By having the proactive on the dark web, having the bullfish, educating the weakest link, and having GRAPHUS not letting the swings get through, locking them down, 2FA, right? Making it difficult for the hackers to get in. It's an insurance policy at the end of the day. Also, it's an insurance policy from future labor spend. What's your labor rate? I don't know your market, but I can tell you here in St. Louis, you're anywhere from 85 to 2.25 per hour, depending upon the level of the tech, right? If you have to bring in some MSSP or something of that nature to help clean up a mess, ooh, that forensic stuff gets crazy, right? Those guys charge dollars per hour. So that protection.
Also, if you don't mind me jumping in, I mean, it's also an insurance policy about, against losing the customer, because,
Absolutely.
you talk about there was the bakery, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Here, there's a GoFundMe. I believe that's what you said, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, many might not be that lucky to have some people helping them out like that, and they just have to close shop, and you lost a client, but you also lost some credibility with other clients, with people that hear about this in your market. And the last thing you want to do is hear that. And one other thing I want to mention too, when you talk about complementary products, a lot of times we have the idea that, we've got a PSA and an RMM that are complementary and work together. But what you guys have built here between this suite of services with the Dark Web ID, the Bullfish ID, Passly, and now GRAPHUS, that is truly a very powerful complementary. That is a true complementary suite of services, right? Because they all, from a security perspective, tie in together to help protect our clients and help protect us as well.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Absolutely.
It does. And if you think about things, and this is, my little stump speech, and I'll end with is, think about when you incorporate these tools, your objective is to create that MRR as an MSP, right? I want to get that recurring revenue. With these tools, the way that they're MSP friendly as far as pricing, it allows you to fix your debt as well, right? So over the term, so when you have those contracts, you're signing contracts, you're trying to go long, when you can fix your debt, you know what your spreads are, you know what you have your ability to manage with, right? When you run your P&Ls. So that's phenomenal from that perspective. The other thing that comes into play is the unwinding, right? Is that we don't want somebody else to come in and displace us. The benefit of things like this, in particular, I will say with SSO, being able to incorporate SSO into the environments that you manage, like with Passly, is that the end users, those business managers, they don't understand technology. That's why they've hired you, right? So in their mind, their perception, the accounting manager sees those business apps that you have SSO on as being very difficult to unwind. As a result, the ability to displace you becomes difficult for a couple of reasons. One, I've developed a relationship, I've further mushroomed through an account, I'm saturating myself within an account, right? Because in case of, they'll say Dan's my IT guy, Dan leaves. And Dan leaves and Susie IT comes on board. When she comes on board, first thing she does is reviews contracts, right? She looks at ways to be able to displace. She's, and at the same time, if the MSP contract is up to bid or on a month-to-month, she's going to turn around or getting whispered in her ear, hey, take us with you from her MSP that she used to work with. So she attempts to go out to bid. You are protected from that displacement as a result of having those further, additional relationships, right? You've got champions inside that organization that don't want to see you leave. In their mind, the perception of unwinding those business apps from the SSO, not discounting 2FA or password manager, but unwinding that becomes incredibly difficult. So the benefit is that you have a longer, contract, contract lifetime, and that total contract value as well, right? So the amount of money and that cash flow stream that I'm getting from those people goes up exponentially, right? And then developing relationships, I can go on for hours. Developing relationships with those the business managers creates additional opportunities for projects, right? Because the spend, and conversion, system conversion from QuickBooks to something else, blah, blah, blah. So I appreciate it. Amelia, Dan.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate the time to talk today and share this exciting new acquisition and this new product and tool with the audience here today.
And I go back to when I first started working with you guys a couple years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. I would always talk with other MSPs and say, this is something new to talk about that not all MSPs are talking about. It's unique. It's a way to really differentiate you from, the other guys that are out there. Especially if you're going up against internal IT, if you're going up against, the CEO's neighbor's cousin's brother, any of those type of situations,
We've
because
all
it's
had those.
something, it's not like you're saying, hey, I want to talk to you about Office 365, hey, I want to talk to you about wireless. It's something that is definitely dominating our news every single day, many times each day. And, it's a sad thing that is dominating, but it also provides us the opportunity to be able to, help people to understand how real it is, because it is hitting the news. And I do encourage everyone to look to any local smaller businesses that might have been targeted and hit, and try to talk about some local smaller situations, obviously without trying to disclose necessarily who they are, without any kind of embarrassment of them, but just because we hear in the news a lot of big corporations that are hit, and it's the small and medium businesses that are being hit even more so. But we don't always hear about that in the news because they're smaller. They're just not going to get that type of coverage. But it's happening even more widespread than the big guys that are out there. And so very, very critical. And I don't know if we have any questions out there. Looks like I think a couple of them that have been answered, but excellent job today. One other thing I guess I just throw out too is just, all the marketing tools that you guys put in place.
That's a whole other hour conversation.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
In a nutshell, what I'd like to say is that anytime you bring on a new service into your stack, you have to market it. You have to have materials to get information out there to clients and prospects. And so then it becomes like this thing, okay, this is great, I'm going to sign on with this, but now how do we go? Well, you guys have done all of that for us. It's very much a done for you type of a campaign, and all those tools are there. I mean, even down to agreements, and it just, you guys thought of everything. I don't think you left anything out. So that's powerful.
All that content and assets, and on top of that, subject matter experts to come and help you sell it. Virtually or otherwise, right?
Absolutely. So with that being said, we are at our mark here, and I want to thank you guys for being here today and educating us. I want to thank all of our MSPs that joined us today, both here in this event and live on Facebook. We will be getting this out as well on YouTube, and we'll be getting that information out there for people that watch it that didn't have a chance. But with that being said, thank you guys. Have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.